All right, I think we'll get started. Let me present my screen here so you can see what's going on.
Okay.
All right, so we're in week 7, and this week you have your annual and quarterly goals. There's Seth. Hey, Seth. So this week you have your annual and quarterly goals review. Wicker, we're going to do some stuff with reading, and then we'll go over team bonding and some resources. And all right, so a couple of things. Have you guys both taken your SATs?
No.
Okay. If you haven't taken your SAT, you'll need to contact your counselor and just let them know that you need to get scheduled for that. The school pays for it for you to do that. So they'll be doing that in April. There are some different websites available to you to help you prepare for it. And so I've got the links on that here for you. If you are planning on attending college this fall, there's a link here to the FAFSA information for student financial aid. There was a recording that they did to help walk you through that. The end of the quarter is Thursday, March 21st. How are you guys doing in your classes?
I know I'm a little bit behind right now because of the whole new baby thing.
Yeah, I bet. That's understandable. How about you, Seth? How are you doing in your classes? Decent? Okay. So, do you have a plan to finish up? To get back on track?
I've been catching up on one class a week to make sure that I'm not still behind.
Okay. That's good. You know, I suggest if you're behind, try and get caught up. Even if you have to, like skip over projects, to get up to where back on track, and just send a note through to your instructor that says that you're trying to get caught up and that you'll come back to it if you end up with time. And then the teacher will automatically give you a second attempt for it, so that will help you get caught up as far as your progress goes, because any assignment you don't actually get to, you get a 0 automatically for it. So say you're behind 5 assignments and you skip over one of those, but you submit the other 4, you'll have an actual grade for those other 4 and just 1 0 instead of having all 5 of them as 0. So
I tried that for one class and somehow I only have like 53%.
So. Oh. Yeah, then I would look at your course weights too and decide, what are the projects that are worth the least amount of points, and those would be the ones that I would, wouldn't focus on. If you have projects and they're worth like 30% of your grade, as opposed to like discussions that are only worth 10%, then skip the discussions because you already have some of those turned in, and focus your time on the ones that are worth the most.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes.
Okay. If anybody still needs to do their tutorials number 1 or 2, you can still do those. You just need to set up a time with at least 2 people. You can do that through your Learning Team IM, or you can attend one of the tutorial times with Miss Salvatore. She is meeting on Wednesdays at 4 and Fridays at 10 a.m. And I put the link to her Google Hangouts there. So if you need to do one of those, I think you guys may have one, or I don't know. Anyway, I know you have at least one of them done. So if you don't have both of yours, you can make that up by going to one of these times or setting up a time with your classmates to get those caught up. I did.
By,
What was your question?
sorry.
That's okay.
By two classmates, you mean like when the other day Seth and I did our second tutorial together. So that's two classmates, right?
Yeah, they prefer that we have at least like 3 doing, one presenting and then 2 observing. But we only have 6 in our class. So, if there's 2 of you, that's good.
Okay.
I'm okay with that. So, I do have a tutorial example here, and we're going to watch a little bit of this. I don't know that we'll watch the full time, but Miss Salvatore has shared this with us just so that you can get an idea of what one looks like, and we'll watch part of it, maybe about 5 or 10 minutes of it, and then I also linked in here notes that she took from the presentation, so you can see an example of what those would look like. And that way, anybody that's watching the recording, I email you out the PowerPoint. So if you want to spend the time and watch the full tutorial to see, an example of a tutorial, you can go ahead and do that. So it makes you a little bit more comfortable with what's going on. So let's watch some of this. After I turn it on, I'm going to mute my mic. If you cannot hear the audio when I mute my mic, will you please let me know?
I can do that.
Okay. Let me see if I can get it to play. Maybe I can get it to play. Okay.
How it affected our government.
Sorry. Here we go.
I'm going to put this right at the beginning of this recording that we're doing a practice. Well, actually, we're doing a real tutorial. This is Elizabeth's tutorial, tutorial number 1. So we're using it as an example, but also
Yeah, no, I can't hear that.
Okay, I'm going to turn it on.
tutorial. So, all right,
Okay.
Elizabeth, go ahead.
So, how do I start this again?
So just basically talk about which class it was, who the teacher is, and then the topic. You're just kind of going through this pre-work inquiry part. And I'll be, let me get a piece of paper and I'll be your note taker. I don't want to do it on another screen, so this is that. Okay. Oh, throwing everything everywhere. Alrighty, I'm ready.
The class I had an interest in was U.S. Government A. The teacher was Mr. Joe Rollins.
Yeah.
Okay. And I didn't have any points of confusion. I just had a point of interest, and that was the social contract by Rousseau and how it affected our government.
Social contract. So what is that? I have no idea.
So the social contract is how the government protects our rights, which are life, liberty, and property. But in the Constitution, property is pursuit of happiness. And in exchange, we follow these laws that the government puts in place in order to protect all 3 of those.
And it was protecting, what was it again?
Life, liberty, and property.
And so is the contract just something that they like kind of were thinking about when they wrote the Constitution?
It was something they were inspired from. They got from Rousseau, um, John Locke, and the Mayflower Compact, I think,
Cool.
and the English bills.
I know very little about government. Like, it's not something that I don't remember. So that's really interesting.
And so I went to good old Google because Google has everything, all the answers. And I just searched up Rousseau's social contract and how it influenced the Constitution and our society. And I found some pretty interesting stuff, like military, for example. Soldiers give up their life in exchange for the protection of their loved ones and for their country. So sometimes we give up some of our rights of like life, liberty, or property in exchange for other things.
That's a good point.
Yeah. For example, like we don't have complete liberty because of how there are laws we follow, but these laws are put there are for our protection. For example, like taxes. We pay taxes for many reasons: education, roads, and that's for our benefit. For example, education. Many like to think is liberty, and or another example is if we didn't pay taxes to go away criminals, and criminals would just be roaming the streets, and we wouldn't have our life secured in a way or protected.
Yeah, those are good examples. Like when you start this, like for somebody like me that doesn't know anything about this, like you're teaching me a lot of stuff right now. So that's really cool.
Um,
And so, what is this one about locking criminals in jails?
also,
Oh,
because I've heard the stereotype how many people hate paying taxes, but we sometimes fail to see how it benefits us and how it's protecting our life and liberty sometimes, and even property, since there are people who violate other people's properties or steal.
yeah. That actually was my thought too. Like, if I was given the chance to pay taxes or not, like I'm thinking that most people would choose. Like, if it were a choice, we wouldn't, because we're like, hey, that's my money. But you make a really good point that if we didn't, then we would have, like, I know our roads aren't always perfect, but we wouldn't even have roads. We would have criminals running around all over the place. All of those things that we don't normally think about would be completely destroyed. So it does, like, those things are protecting our life, liberty, and property by having those, even with taxes.
Or even weird things like having those people who take out our garbage. I mean, because last year my teacher told me how disposing of garbage is really difficult if you were to try to do it by yourself, because you'd either have to burn it or something like that. So having these people who throw our garbage is I can't find the word.
Well, it's like, it's helpful to our lives. It makes things easier for us.
Yeah, definitely. Or going back to the taxes things, we could, since we're social creatures, we need to be socialized exercising in order to be healthy. But let's say like you're like, I don't want to pay my rent, I don't want to pay water or the electricity, so I'm just gonna go live in the woods, make my own house. But after a while, you're going to go crazy,
Yeah.
and you're not looking at the benefits that come from these things that were put into place. And sometimes we don't realize that, but it's really weird seeing how, oh, this benefits me in this way.
Yeah. So making that social contract is like something that we do partially that we're forced to do with like taxes, but some of it's like so that we do have a better life. We have our freedoms, we have our properties and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Well, that was pretty much all I found, and then I could apply it to, for example, like I would look at the laws that were put into place and try to see how it, in a way, benefits me and the people around me, or also just jobs that were put into place, like those people who draw artists, those who look at, I don't know what it was called. Well, all the jobs people wouldn't want. And a part where I am still interested would be how our society would look, our government, if we didn't put the social contract in our constitution. Would our lives just be completely different, or would we still be somewhat the same?
Yeah, and what is like everybody's thoughts on that? What do you think that society would be like if we didn't have that understanding? We're very quiet today.
I think it would be a lot different, and we would be unhappy with the way things were. Like, we're unhappy with having to pay taxes and stuff now, but if we didn't have to, then we would be more unhappy.
Yeah, like that. The biggest one that Elizabeth pointed out for me is like the criminals, because if that wasn't the case, you know, like if there weren't laws in place to protect us, like we hate when we get pulled over for a speeding ticket. It makes us mad. Like, why are you picking on me? But, you know, what if we caused a crash or something? I mean, there's reasons.
I'm going to go ahead and stop it there. Somewhere else. Sorry, my daughter's here. I decided to play a game on my phone. So I'm going to stop it there. But that gives you kind of an idea of what it looks like walking it through, as far as the presenter and the people that are there. As a part of the tutorial, you can ask questions during the presentation of the information for clarification. Are there any questions that you have on that?
I don't have any.
Okay. All right. I just want to show you, I'm going to present here and show you her notes so you can get a look at that. Because I know that's one thing that has been a question as to what notes do I take when the person's presenting. So those are in the slides that I'll send out. But she, put in what the questions were, and notes that came up in the presentation, and then just did a quick little summary of what it was. It's not really 3-column notes because there's only 2 columns here, but this would be an example of what notes could look like when you're doing a tutorial. All right, did you have questions on that, Kaylin?
The only thing I'd ask is, do you guys have like kind of like a rubric for that? Like, do you have like a copy that we can put our own questions and stuff into?
I don't, but I can definitely make one.
I just feel like it might be a little helpful.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'll work on that and get it and share the link for it. Notes. Template. Okay. I will. I made myself a little note, so I'll get that and share it with you. Maybe I'll even. Sorry, excuse me. I'll try and get it out into with the email when I send out the slides for you and the recording, because it won't take very long. I'll just pull up hers, make a copy of it, and delete her stuff out of it. So it's pretty easy.
All right. Thank you.
All right. So as far as this week and the lessons this week, the annual and quarterly goals, it's the form that you guys did at the very beginning of the quarter, or I'm not sure if you guys have done it. Have you guys filled out the goals form?
I think I've done it. I'm
Okay.
not sure.
Okay. I'll pull it up here so you can see what it looks like. So you're going to just put in your information. We're kind of looking at asking you some questions. Have you met your goals? Has your AVID instructor talked to you at all about your goals? Do you want more information regarding like honors diploma or advanced opportunities or college planning, any of those? If you mark these, then our counselors get the spreadsheet with the answers in it, and anybody that has any of these marked, they reach out to you. So if you're interested in it, then definitely click on it. Even if you have just like a slight interest, like I don't even know what that is, then indicate it here so that they can tell you more about it and you can decide if it's something for you. And then just checking in to see if your GPA matches your goal, and where you're at as far as the GPA calculator. And then, any changes that you've been making, and, how often do you use your peers for resources and that kind of stuff. So those are the questions. And once you submit that, then you're just going to post, a note I think there's a text box that you just say, I've submitted the form, because we pull up the spreadsheet and check your answers so that we know. Any questions on the form?
I don't have any.
Okay. All right, let's go to the next slide, maybe. Hang on. Okay, so there's also a lesson in there on Wicker reading that really has you examine how you interact with text. What are some of the things that you use that work? And how can we use those in the online world? Do either of you guys write down notes while you're studying or doing your courses?
Sometimes.
Okay. Do you keep anything like on, digitally, or do you just Google it?
I write stuff down on paper. I don't really do it in all of my classes. It's mainly just history because I struggle in that class. So I take a lot of notes to help me out. But other than that, I don't really do anything.
Okay. Yeah. So there's some things that, doing KWL charts, what what do you want to know, and then going back and looking at what you learned. Seth, you're basically the same way. Yeah. I would say some courses are going to lend more to you actually writing stuff down than others. Like, of course, if you're doing math, you're probably going to be doing some writing to, work through the problem. Sticky notes, just reading over stuff out loud. Even discussing what you've read with others. I know we've had lessons in the past in AVID about utilizing your classmates. And that's, part of the reason why they they started the study groups that we have going on regionally, is just so that you have a chance to discuss with people that are in your class, what's going on, like, getting some study groups together, because that will help you. The more you explain something, the better you know it. And so even if you have questions, just kind of talking through those can sometimes help you to find the answer. So you'll learn more about that this week. Team bonding, did you both take your mascot quiz?
Yeah.
How'd you do, Kaylin?
I think I got like 3 out of 10.
Yeah. So, they're all in the state of Idaho. I know Seth did pretty good. I think Seth got a 7 out of 10. Is that right?
I think that's what he got.
Yeah. I think I remember reading that somewhere. So these are the answers. Lewis and Clark State College, North Idaho College, the College of Southern Idaho. So you have the Cardinals. They're there, North Idaho College. The College of Southern Idaho is the Eagles. You have the College of Idaho Yotes, University of Idaho Vandals, NNU Nighthawks, which that one I didn't even know. The College of Eastern Idaho, I can't remember what exactly they are. BYU Idaho is the Knights, but on this next slide here, I have the names for them because does anybody know what the name? It's the Broncos, but what's their mascot's name?
Yeah, I don't know that.
You don't know that? Does Seth, do you know it?
Part of my problem, I think, with trying to know them all is that throughout my life, I've lived in Oregon, Idaho, and California. I've lived in Ohio. Lived too many places to focus on the colleges of one place, so
Yeah.
that might have been my difficulty.
Yeah. Well, Boise State is the Broncos, but their mascot's name is Buster Bronco. And so I went through and found like the names that they have for all of these. So you have like Cecil the Cardinal. I couldn't find the one for BYU Idaho. They still use the Vikings, which was from when it was Rick's College before they changed the name of it to BYU Idaho. So there's no name for it. You have Joe Vandal, Buster Bronco. You have Yotes. The Nighthawks didn't have anything. Lewis and Clark, they're the Pioneers, and they have a dog as their mascot apparently, which makes total sense, right? And they call it the dog's name is Pio. And then the College of Eastern Idaho, they are Frankie the Falcon. So they're the Falcons, and their mascot is Frankie the Falcon. CSI is the Golden Eagles, and then Idaho State University is Benny the Bengal. So kind of just a little bit of trivia. Someday somebody's going to ask you what the mascot is for Lewis and Clark, and you'll be like, oh, I know that. That's a dog. But they're the Pioneers. Random trivia. So for your learning team assignment for this week is just to get your tutorials done. So make sure that you have submitted both of your tutorials, tutorial 1 and 2. You do have a third tutorial coming up. I believe it is in week 8. So that's next week. So try and get the first 2 done so you can get the last one in before the end of the quarter. I may even, I don't know, I'll make sure you have 2 of them done. That's what I'm going to say. Make sure you have 2 of them done. There's a chance that I may eliminate the third one, but know that you need to have at least 2 of them done. So there's as far as resources go, we have the PSATs, the SATs, and then some stuff on college readiness and FAFSA there for you. And those of you guys that are watching the recording, just answer the questions. Well, we didn't do team bonding, so just explain the tutorial video, and then just submit that in the course. Do you have either of you guys have any questions, Kaylin or Seth, about this week's work?
I have one question. So, one of the things that happened both times I've done tutorials is that the other person did the other tutorial page, and it makes things a little bit difficult in trying to figure out how to
Had a
work
question.
around it.
Okay. So they did the one where they don't know the answer?
Yeah, like Seth did the one that's through the course, and so did for the first tutorial you were in the chat with the person that I did that with.
Yeah, Ajay had done that. Yeah, it's just a little bit different. I mean, it's the same basic form. I just kind of changed some of the wording on it. But just, it's basically like what we watched. When you're doing the tutorial, if they don't know the answer to their question, like they have a point of confusion and they're trying to figure it out, you're going to be asking them questions. With a tutorial, they don't want you to give a person an answer. It's about asking questions. So asking the questions like Ms. Salvatore did, what is a social contract? Or I'm not, explain to me what you know about the subject so far. Tell me, look at your notes and tell me what you have down there from that class to try and work through it. So it's trying to get the person who's doing the tutorial to come to their own conclusion about the answer without you actually giving them the answer. And
Okay.
for that form, and then with the doing one that's a point of interest to you, you're basically just you've researched whatever it is that you want to know more about. Like hers was that she wanted to know more about social contract, so you just ask questions to them about whatever they researched to gain more clarity on the subject.
Okay. That makes sense.
Okay. All right. Well, that will conclude our live session for today. And I will get that template created real quick and send it out with the PowerPoint and the recording.
Okay.
All right.
you.
All right. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and you guys have a good week.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.